All right, well, let's do it. We got, I see we have 3 here on the Zoom. We got like 4 on Facebook Live, so we'll get started. Hello, everybody. Happy Friday. The Friday the 13th, I realized. I saw somebody on Twitter say last time we had a Friday 13th was the day that we declared it a global pandemic. So we can only go up from here. Well, I'm bringing on one of the people I know who's got one of the most positive and most mindful people I know, which is perfect on a Friday the 13th in a pandemic. She always comes with a big smile. So welcome, Carla White, to a Leadmore live session. Thanks for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me, John. This is super fun. We go so far back. This is really nice to be back on together like this.
I know. I think most people don't even know like all the story of how, of when we were talking about making apps and started making apps together. And, but yeah, it's fun to see. I always say the entrepreneurial circle of Sioux Falls, like it might be a little intimidating at first, but once you break in and know somebody, then you're one connection away from everybody.
Yeah, it's a really good community. It really is.
So let's start there because you have some exciting things you're working on. So just catch me up. We'll talk about the part that you've been doing for a long time when we get into this conversation. But you have something new that I want you to share about that too.
Yeah, it's kind of like the second generation of all this innovation. It's kind of an offspring from what we're going to talk about, gratitude.
Yep.
It's let's say Spotify for infopreneurs. That's really where it's going. So basically all these experts, industry experts that have courses and learning online, the problems are one, connecting with your customers. You got to use Facebook ads or other strategies like that. Or if you actually do make a sale, then that customer has to find the time to sit down and consume the content. And we all know, myself included, I've got kids at home right now. It's hard. You can just throw your 2020 planner out the window. And so
I tell Nick always, I have like an inbox of emails of courses I've paid pretty good money for that I just need to sit down and consume. And like my sticky note but they're all like hours upon hours of video content. Like it's a lot.
Right. And this is going to be a podcast, right? Because 88 million people are listening to podcasts daily. So that's where I'm taking this. So you can take those courses, you upload them into Hero, they instantly turn into a members only podcast. So then your customers can listen on the go, and eventually it'll become the marketplace. So if you want to find a course that in audio format, you know where to go. You can find it. You can see the reviews. You can see more about that person. It'll seamlessly work with your podcast. So if you're promoting your members only podcast inside of your public one, you can have just a little pop-up come up and people can join instantly.
Cool.
And so it's a few things, the people who need this education, they're busy. You got kids, I got kids, running businesses, yet we need to learn and we don't have the time. So this will give you,
if I can do it on my run, if I can do it while I'm mowing the lawn. Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. Yep.
So does your app even then, you said it'll turn it into, it's like if I upload an MP4, it'll make it an audio course, or I have to upload audio files?
No. So what I did, and I'll share the whole backstory. I actually created this let me just share the whole backstory. I think I'm going to kind of flip.
Yeah, let's start. So I'll say welcome to our folks. We got Jade, Lisa, Stacy, Nick, you're Carla, duh. We have, I'm just reading off names here. We're also trying for the first time ever here at the Leadmore Live. We are pushing this to Facebook. So if you're stumbling upon this and you have no idea what's going on, but you want to listen to Carla, which I understand, this is a Leadmore Live session where we bring on folks to talk about different topics around leadership. And I think right now we felt like, given the season of almost Thanksgiving, given the stress and craziness of a global pandemic, we could all practice a little bit more gratitude and mindfulness. So I called up the person I know who is the best and has been doing this for the longest. So let's start there, because when I first met you, you were known as like the iPhone lady who made this app that went big.
Right. Yeah. So I created an app, gratitude journal app. I'm just going to claim first woman to make an app because it's that old. It's on the App Store.
I mean, it was like 09, 08.
08. So it was about 4 or 5 months after the iPhone came out, and a couple months after they opened up the SDK for apps.
And were you still working out at Eros then?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So I would get on my laptop at 5 a.m., try to communicate with developers in India and figure out all these tools and stuff. And then I'd head out to Eros and come home again and work on it. So that was back in the days when apps were a lot easier. Now they're very complicated. But the whole reason I created this app is because gratitude had completely transformed my life. Before moving back to South Dakota, I was living in London for like 10 years almost. I was working with Microsoft when I went over there. And it was an amazing job, paid well, flew all over the world. And then they said, look, you can go to Seattle and work, or we're going to have to let you go. And I had just met my boyfriend, now husband, at the time. And so I was like, not sure if I want to go just yet. So I decided to stay and take my first hand at creating a business. We had a wireless network that we were trying to create, nothing small, right? And it was interesting because I went from like being this high roller in Microsoft where people were trying to take me out for dinner and get my time and all this to like nobody returning calls or emails. I mean, it was so good for my ego. And it was stressful, of course. Like you've been through startups, you know, it's stressful, all the uncertainty, you got bills to pay, all this other stuff, and money's going out and nothing's coming in. And so I was dealing with the stress in all the ways that society has taught me to, like, especially in England, like go to the pub. They have amazing pubs, right? Go to the pub, drink pints.
Some pints. Yep.
Yeah. Watch telly. They have really good telly. Like even the commercials are good in England. So like you could just binge watch for hours. The chocolate is good. The alcohol is good. Like you can service your vices to the max over there. And I was doing it. I was like, that's how I was going to deal with my stress. And I'd be drinking wine. And so in my mind, I wasn't doing anything
on top of everything. Yeah.
Right. But then my health took a turn. I was getting ulcers. I had insomnia, cold sore. I mean, like just things I never ever had before. And when I didn't think I could take it anymore, like something's got to give, you know, how you're constantly, it's going to turn. And that's when I got the middle of the night phone call from my brother here in South Dakota saying that our dad had suddenly passed away. And I put the blame completely on myself because I had just been home like a week before that. My bags weren't even unpacked. And I knew there was something wrong with his health. And I kept quiet because like, nice South Dakota girl, let's not rock the boat while we're home. Let's just have good family time. And so I blamed myself extensively. And I wasn't coping with stress anyway. So it was just a downward spiral. My husband, now we're married and he's not sure what to do. He says, let's go back to South Dakota so you can be closer to your family. And because I would drive down the motorway as fast as my little Honda would go. And I would be just like, just flip, just get me out of this pain, just flip. And so he didn't know what to do. Like, what am I going to do? And so we moved to South Dakota, and it got worse because like, look outside, you know, now, and I did not have any of the gear. I had like some cheap knockoff Uggs and some paper thin jackets, and I was like, crabby, and ended up getting super sick, pneumonia. And that's when the doctor said, look, you got to do something about this pneumonia and your depression. And I was like, I don't have depression. I'm good. But by then I was like, the insomnia was really bad. I was taking sleep aids and waking up with these sleep aid hangovers, drinking tons of coffee, putting on weight because I stopped walking. I was driving everywhere.
Sure.
So I did what everybody does when they get a wake up call like that. I came home, got on Google and searched depression cures and what can I do about this? And
do I have depression? And Google says yes.
Right? Yeah, exactly. And that's how I came across keeping a gratitude journal. I never heard of it before. Just like, okay, I'm going to do this. And
do you remember what it was? Was it a blogger? Was it
it was Oprah,
science journal?
It was Oprah. So
okay.
she had all these stories, somebody who returned from Iraq, a mom who lost a child, like all these stories that were way worse than mine. And I thought, well, if it turned their lives around, I'll give it a go. And so 2 months into this gratitude experiment, I'm out for a walk and I'm like, okay, I lost weight. I got a job offer from the Pentagon, or not the Pentagon, NASA. I sleeping well, like all these things going through my head that are good.
Yeah.
And I'm like, whoa, that's totally different than 2 months ago when I was in the hospital. So what gives? And then the penny dropped. Oh, it was that gratitude journal. I got to tell the world about this. So then I went and made the app and hoped like, oh, just get one person to download it and use it. And that's like 13 years ago. And it got featured in a lot of magazines and publications and shows. And it still connects me with some amazing people. Like there's a guy who wrote to me saying he got my gratitude app, and you might have heard of me. I'm Steve O from, I won't say the full word. Do you know Jack Beep? Do you know those guys?
Oh, the MTV show?
Yes.
Yeah.
So like I'm connecting with all these random people around the world, like one of my friends that I met through the app, she rode 3 oceans solo, just her in a rowboat, like out there, 3 oceans, not all in one go, right? Not like, but she's
sure.
Yeah. And I ended up going to, what's that?
Maybe I got the story wrong. I didn't know you were inspired by Oprah, but didn't Oprah end up like sharing it? So it came full circle.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. It started out with an email from her staff saying, this is Oprah staff. And I'm like, I'm going to be on Oprah. And then everything got changed and I ended up just being mentioned on the show and got a spot in the magazine, but I'll take it.
It counts.
But yeah. So that's the story. And I'd like to say it was happily ever after that. I started making apps and stuff, but it wasn't. I adopted our first son. I had my app agency. I was like stressed to the max and not dealing with it again very well. And the penny dropped then at that point. Yeah, my son was like 3 years old. He's now almost 10 and he was about 3, and he opens up the fridge for a sippy cup of milk at 7 a.m. and he goes, "Hey mom, you want a beer?" And I'm like, oh, he thinks that's what mom drinks is beer. So I was like I'm going to be that mom, And so at that point,
had you stopped doing your gratitude journal at that point?
No, I was doing my gratitude. That's where it threw me. I was still doing gratitude like religiously every single day. But I would wake up with panic attacks. Like I would wake up not able to breathe. I'd wake up in the middle of the night and not be able to sleep. Like I'd wake up at 1 and that's when I'm up for the day. I don't know. At that point, instead of gaining the weight, I like went down to like 110 pounds. I just no appetite, just sickly all the time, terrible. And that's when my son did that, you'd think, okay, I'm not going to drink anymore. But of course it was like, oh, I'll take a break next week. This isn't a good time. Next time. Right. And then a friend came back from New York and it was New Year's Day. And he said, let's go out and just catch up. And so we went to, I don't know, Shenanigans or somewhere like that, an Irish pub. And he ordered a Coke and I ordered my wine. And I was kind of confused because, like we're college buds. We drink when we see each other. And he said, well, I'm just taking a break. And I thought, you know what? I could do that. I can take a break. Quit, I can't do, but I can take a break. So I started to take a break. And I've taken a break. That was, I don't know, 5-6 years ago. So Yeah, not craving it, but you don't. So, and what I did instead was okay, gratitude worked in the past. Why did it work? And who can teach me more? So at that point, I dove deep into neuroscience, how the brain works, like just what motivates us, how do bad habits come in? How do we get influenced by these bad habits, society, all this stuff. I just dove deep in, I've got a library full of books about all of it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah. And that's when I started to discover just how much we get influenced by media and just everything around us. Like from the point we go into school into now today, just Friday the 13th, or is it National Kindness Day, or how are you going to view this day? Like, what are the messages you're giving yourself?
That they're pushing. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So, and just what triggers you, how you respond, all these things. So, hired mentors. One of my mentor, he is an OG in the self-development movement. His name is Dennis Waitley, and he coached like John Maxwell and Tony Robbins and some of these people that are no longer with us anymore. He's old. He's like in his 90s. And he taught me a lot about the science, how the brain works scientifically. And I really enjoyed that because I was following and learning from some other people that were just way too esoteric. And I think it's just my scientific background. I need evidence. I need to know the science behind it. Yeah.
Well, let's go there, because is there so your app, I believe, if I remember right, was like 3 things you're grateful for each day, right? And I've done the gratitude journal, which I know basically just took it into a notebook and basically gave you the blanks to fill it out. Is there any science, or is there if someone's thinking, I've never really done this, I want to start doing gratitude, what's the format that we should follow? Or is it whatever works for you?
Yeah. Well, first off, it's whatever works, but let me share how it works. So then you'll figure out what works best for you.
Perfect.
Yeah. So when you're recapping life's best moments, your brain doesn't know if it's happening right now or in the past or in the future. It isn't aware of that. So when you're recapping it, it's that emotion, reliving that emotion again. And what that does is it changes the superhighway of your mind. So the synapses of your mind, where your thoughts go to on default. Okay. So I grew up on a farm, and on the farm, when it rains, it gets muddy and you're driving your tractor. My dad would drive the tractor from the feedlot over to the cows to dump food in the troughs, right? So he'd drive that every day, back and forth every day. And it got to the point where he could let go of the steering wheel and the tractor would just drive itself. And that is what you're doing with your synapses in your brain. So to give you an idea of how much your imagination has over the emotions and the synapses of your brains in your reaction, a while back, I was in Texas at the border, and there's a museum at the border of Texas where you can simulate what it's like to sneak into America as an immigrant. You have your shoes off, your feet are in the sand, it's like damp and dark, and you got this virtual reality headset on. So you're going through it with virtual reality, and all of a sudden a pistol comes out from the side up to your temple. And of course, my heart exploded out of my chest. It was all fake, right?
Physical reaction.
Right. And you have these visceral physical reactions, whether you're watching TV, a commercial. And just so you know, our natural way of thinking is, our default mode is abundance, gratitude. There is enough. It'll work out. Everything's okay.
It is. We're wired to be that way.
Yeah.
I guess your point. Kids, right? For sure.
They wake up in the morning and it's snowing, it's raining. It doesn't matter. They're like, yay, I'm awake.
Good point. Yeah. I mean, I've been saying that having children during a pandemic certainly is difficult, but at the same time, they sort of root us in this, they don't know there's a pandemic. I mean, my kids wear masks to preschool and it doesn't even faze them, right? Their outlook is still very sunny. So
Yeah, exactly. So our default mode is actually positive, not negative. Now, I'm going to get into some history. There's so many different ways I could take this. I'm going to get into some history. During the second industrial revolution, so we had the first one that we created abundance of goods that went to World War I efforts. World War I ended. We got another industrial revolution, and pots and pans and goods are just filling up the shelves. But our great-great-grandparents, they aren't buying them because, heck, I have my own recipe for bread and you ain't getting it. And I have this perfectly good suit. I don't need another one, right? They're frugal. They make their own stuff, and they're proud of it. So people weren't buying the goods on the shelves. So what the government did, and this is from a book called Inventing the Story Wars. What the government did was they hired marketers to redefine what it meant to be American. And those marketers went out and said, okay, American is a 2-car garage. It's a white picket fence. It's a Cadillac. It's, happiness in the bottom of a Coke bottle. So we went from creating to consuming, and our happiness levels went down and our stress levels went up because we started to acquire more debt, to have more space, to have more stuff, because we were told that buying stuff, I mean, when the Twin Towers fell, President Bush, first thing he said was, be American, go buy again. And that's what we were told. And we're starting to come full circle. Like, that was one of the good things with the pandemic, was people were making bread again. People were creating stuff, and that brought them an expressive outlet. So our natural state is joy. Our natural inclination is to create. We love to create. We don't want to just be these robots. We want to create. We don't want to just buy. We want to create. And what gratitude does is a daily practice of that, get you back to that natural state and get you out of this mindset that I'm just going to say, brainwashed with through society and government. So the top 3 industries in the United States need the nation to be stressed and scared and fearful in order for them to exist. So the first industry is arms. And I worked for the Pentagon right out of grad school. And we had a $3.5 billion Pentagon program, that's how we got to spend that quick before Congress takes it away. And that was hard to do.
It's a lot of money, yeah.
It's a lot of money. And guess what? It was like this much of the whole pie. It was just a sliver of the whole budget. That's money. That's our tax money. That's so much money, just humans fearing other humans. That's it, right? We don't naturally fear each other. Okay, so that's the first one. Second one is pharmaceuticals. And I think it's like 75% of all Americans are on at least one prescription drug or more. And 8 of the top prescribed drugs are for stress-related illnesses. So these are preventable illnesses. And then we have the third one, which is alcohol and tobacco. So you had a hard day, have a drink or puff of a cigarette, and you'll feel good. And they're like, I won't even get into the amount of money that goes into just making alcohol look cool, like an acceptable thing, right? It's a lot goes into that. So those 3 big industries want you to be stressed. They want you to be fearful. They want you to be just live in this reactive mode for them to exist. And to me, keeping a gratitude journal is like giving those industries 2 fingers up and just saying, no, I ain't going to do it. I ain't going to play that game. I'm going to take care of myself and do it on my terms. I'm going to shut off the news. I don't need to hear that stuff. I'm going to lower my alcohol. I'm not going to just think I have to be cool every time. And I'm going to take care of my health. I'm going to drink water. I'm going to go out for walks. And I'm going to start with my mindset. I'm going to do a lot for my mindset. I'm going to set my mind straight at the beginning of the day. I'm going to give myself 10 minutes at the beginning of the day, not check my phone, because that's an addictive thing, right? Then that will send you in a downward spiral like that. Yeah. And guilty, just take care of my mindset first and then see what the world has to offer.
That's great. So let's do this and then we'll take some questions. I'd love to hear when you do it. Cause I think like modeling, like I think you're right. At the end of the day, I always say like the best note-taking app is the one that you stick to, right? Like it doesn't matter if it's Evernote or Notion or Roam or like whatever you want. It could be a pad of paper, but whatever you stick to. So, but like, I like to hear how people who have done it for a while, how they do it. It's like, when do you do it? And give us an example of what might be on your, cause I remember when I do the gratitude journal, I started feeling like either I'm really boring or I just like I'd be like a cup of coffee, my daughters, the sunshine. And like, I would always keep coming back to these really basic things, but maybe that's the point. So like, tell us what yours looks like.
Okay. Yeah, that's a great question. So I actually write 8 things at the end of the day.
Okay.
Yeah. So
you do the end of the day, like reflection.
Yeah, it gets me to think even more about what happened. And if I can't come up with 8, then I'm overlooking a lot of stuff in my life. I'm not paying enough attention, or I'm paying attention to the wrong things. And I'll get into how important it is. What you pay attention to matters. And so I write it, and then I studied the Bible quite a bit over the last few years, and gold is mentioned 8 times in the Bible. So that number 8, like if you turn it on the side, it's a symbol for affinity. So that's a kind of a special little magic number for me. Cool. I don't see gratitude as being something that you have to overcome to recognize. Like I had to overcome something, and now I see this come into my life. I had to have this struggle, and now I have to have this. I see it as appreciation. It's there all the time. It's always around us. It's just I'm starting to recognize it more and more and more and more. And that goes into quantum physics. The more you pay attention to something, the more it comes into being. There's all sorts of other scientific data behind focusing. What you focus on.
It's like that idea of when you buy a new car that you think nobody has, and then all of a sudden you see that car everywhere, right?
Well, that's your reticulator activating system, your RAS. Okay. So that's a filter in your brain. If we took in all the information around us, then our brains would just melt down. In fact, during the pandemic, I was home for so long, and then I finally went into, I don't know, some home goods shop or shop with floor to ceiling stuff. And I had to sit down. I got dizzy because my brain just couldn't take in all this information. And so our reticulator activating system is there to filter out everything that you don't need to pay attention to. And we program that. So we tell it what to pay attention to. So like, I'm guessing if you had 100 photographs, you'd find your daughter straight away in those 100 photographs because your reticulator activating system kicks in. Sure. Okay. And that's really what you're doing with gratitude or anything. You're telling your mind, this is what I want to focus on. Yep. I don't want this other news. You're telling it what's important. Most people don't even realize that they can program this, like to the extent where you can say, I want to wake up at 5 a.m. tomorrow, no alarm. Your reticulator activating system is programmed enough to do that. I mean, my dog, every day he'll get up at 3 because it's time to get the kids from school, and he'll get up from his nap and go, come on. Sure. As an alarm clock, right? We know that.
Dog doesn't have an Apple Watch on his wrist. Yeah, they just do it. Yeah.
That's a good one.
Maybe yours does. I don't know.
No, he doesn't. But I might, just as an experiment. So whatever, like you said, John, whatever, paper, pen, it doesn't matter. I like my app. Habitual.
8 things. Do you do same time of the night before you go to bed? When do you like to do it? Okay.
I like it. So I do it before I go to sleep. And then that's the end of my phone because I want to marinate in those thoughts. I don't want my thoughts to be marinating on something I read on Twitter or some other news or any horrible show I watched.
Last thing you kind of anchor your day in. Yeah.
Yes. Because that also conditions your neural pathways as well. So, and this is all stuff like astronauts use it, top athletes, top performers, business people. These are the tactics they use. They're not any different than you and I. They just have different habits. So the morning, I have power rituals I do in the morning. And one of them is to, with the gratitude app, I can look at what I was grateful for last year and the year before that and the year before that. So I like to see that as a measuring stick of all the different things that happened in my life over the past years. And then as I map out my day, I give gratitude as if the day was already done and the things that happened in the day. And the probability of them happening is higher when I do that versus when I don't do that, because I'm expecting it. I'm looking for things. I'm noticing things, patterns, whatever. So I
think Jade, I don't know if Jade's still in here. We talked a couple weeks ago. She took us through her vision board process and how she creates a vision board for the year. That same idea, right? And that's an athlete thing too, right? You envision making the shot before you even have to take the shot, and you've already lived it and been there before. So that's great.
Yeah, right. And you can do that. Like I go out running when it's super cold. And the way I do it is I envision myself a mile into the run when my body's warmed up, not the moment I'm walking out the door and I'm going, this is crazy. What am I doing? Right?
Yeah.
So if you envision that, your brain just goes into like, this is what we got to do. Just do it. And you get all the noise out.
Well, I'm going to kick it to the group here. If anybody has any questions for Carla, we'll put them in the chat, because this is your chance to ask the Gratitude Pro of how she does her process. And so feel free to do that while we're waiting for any questions that might come in. Thinking about how you do it at the end of the day, I like that idea of like marinating in it. Do you then, I know I always say that like I don't dream, but then people say everybody dreams. Some people just don't remember them. Mm-hmm. Do you then dream about the things you are grateful for? Like if that's the last thought before you fall asleep, I feel like that would be some pretty awesome dreams if you're dreaming about all this great stuff.
So absolutely. And I never realized it, because when the riots were happening in Minneapolis, they were right down from my friend's house. So of course I was like glued to Twitter or whatever, as much as I'd wake up in the middle of the night to check on how she was and how things were happening. And I was having nightmares then. Same with like some of the more recent events and with the election and the debates. I'd watch the debate and that way later than my bedtime, and I'd go to bed and I'd have nightmares that night. Like I was having an argument with somebody else. So we are heavily influenced by what's around us.
Absolutely.
Yeah. More than we're aware, I think.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, that's good. Let's see. We got one here from Nick. So Nick says, how do you stay motivated to practice it consistently? Are there days when it feels tedious? Have you built the habit so firmly that it's like almost robotic or automatic?
Yeah, that's a good question. So it's been so long. It's been 10 years. I haven't really even skipped a day. If I skip a day, I can feel it. So it starts to become like brushing your teeth, right? And that's what you're looking for. You want to start with a trigger. You need a trigger to create your habit. So for me, it would be, I have my phone right here. I have my phone in my hand and I am going to use it. And that's what I'm going to use it for. But for you, it could just be put the notebook and the pen next to your bed and have it there each night. Have it there as a reminder and just do it. The other, like, there are so many different tips in grounding new habits. Like make sure you do it every day, 21 days. I don't know. I like to say 30 days. And I like to actually even tell people, instead of just writing 8 things a day, write 30 things and write it down. Like, I love the smell of fresh grass. I love when the snow melts in February. I love whatever it is. It can be anything. Write down 30 things that you love, write it down, read it out loud, because when you read it out loud, you'll feel different when you read it out loud. And you do that every single day for 30 days. And the kicker is you can't repeat anything on your list. So if you say, I love my kids, I love playing with my kids, that one's done. You can't use that again. What this does is it will train your brain to notice things you never noticed before.
More.
Yeah. You will start to be digging deep, and people are like, I can never do that. And then and the cool thing is, and this is like with gratitude or anything like that, any new habit. If I say you could have a penny today that doubles every day for 30 days or $1 million right now, which one would you take? And this is a trick,
Sure.
so you'll say the penny, right?
Yeah.
But
yeah, it's like the marshmallow test. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Yes, it is. And, but like you get to day 19 or so, I think I have to get the numbers, but I think it's like a few $1,000 if it's doubling every day.
Okay.
And you're looking at the guy who took the $1 million
The
and
million,
you're like,
you're
okay, I did the wrong thing. But then by the time you get to day 29, I think it's $1 million, and 30 it's 2, and then it goes up to 4, right? Or you're almost close to 4 million by 31 days. And so that's the compound effect. And that's really how this works in your brain. Is you may be doing it for 10 days, 12 days, and you don't feel anything. It's not really like you're like, okay, this isn't helping much. And then all of a sudden it just starts to snowball. Just because here's what happens. It's like this. Let's say you want to go in for a job interview or get a new client or whatever it is, and you're not sure. They're like checking out other people and you're a little bit nervous. And so you go in there and you have this anxious apprehension. Your biology, your physiology is going to change. And we're like 99.999% energy. So they're going to feel that. They're going to pick up on that. Yeah. Your stance, how you speak, what you say, what you do, you're going to be a lot quieter. You're going to be more reserved compared to you hear that they really want to hire you. They've been asking everybody about you. They're like, I'll pay you double. I don't care. You're going to be way more confident. You're going to be way more secure. You're going to say things you never say. And that is more in an excited manner. You're more excited versus anxious. Yep. They kind of feel the same, but they're totally different when you're in that mode. So the key is to have that confidence more than the anxiety, more than feeling scared or reserved, because opportunities are attracted to confidence. People are attracted to confidence.
That's good.
It changes everything about your life. So it's about getting into that default mode of being more confident rather than anxious, because our brains, as smart as they are, they have a single processor. You can't be confident, or let me say that you can't be anxious and grateful at the same time. You just can't hold those two emotions in your brain at the same time. You got to pick one or the other. And so it's training your brain to make that the default mode. So when you're in a situation off the cusp, your kids are screaming, your spouse is yelling at you, you're late for work, you can't find your keys, things aren't working out, you're not going to freak out. You're going to be like, okay, everything always works out for me. I know it because I wrote it yesterday, 8 things that worked out for me. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, I think some people say it's kind of hippy dippy, but the idea of like that your words can manifest things into the world, right? Like when you say it with your mouth, then it connects to your brain. And I think that's really powerful. So I'm going to open it up again. If you have any more questions, probably have time for 1 or 2 more. I'll wait in the chat. I have one. So Leadmore is about the concept of we need more leaders in the world. That's the first premise. The second premise is that leaders don't always look the way we may think. You don't have to be a CEO or like a white dude, right? And so they come in all shapes and sizes, all different job titles, ages, backgrounds. And so we try to bring all sorts of leaders. So what would you say to, I think often, how do I say this? Like people choose who they want to follow when we think about leaders, right? And some leaders are very contagious, and maybe some of that starts with gratitude. So what's the role of gratitude that a leader can take in terms of how they connect with people, how they express gratitude to their team? Hey, not just like an attaboy, but like other ways to show gratitude as a leader.
Yeah. And that's a great question, because, especially on National Kindness Day, kindness goes today. A long ways. Yeah, it is.
Okay, perfect. I didn't know that. Yeah, I do. So, I kind of agreed with you that there's a day for everything now, so I've kind of lost track. And sometimes sometimes I swear that the donut day comes around faster than a year.
Like, that's like every week though in our house.
Totally.
So, but everybody wants to be validated. That's a human emotion. Like that's rooted into our survival, to know that you're validated, that you're needed, and outwardly express that, like actually do it in a way that reinforces a behavior you want, then you're just going to get more of that behavior. And this is like, you talked about my whole strategy, or my whole new, my app Hero.
Yeah.
My whole marketing strategy is this. It's about expressing to my audience that I want, the customers that I want, how much they impacted my life and how awesome they are and how much we need them to impact more people's lives, and expressing that gratitude in just repeating what they say on the social media, reaching out to them in different ways, doing a little video that says, hey, you really impacted my life. Thank you so much. Doing these things. Oh my gosh, you can do it for nothing, right? It's cheap, it's free, and it makes them feel good, whether they aren't a leader or they are a leader. Like, even if you are a leader, you got to have that feedback, because you don't know, am I doing a good job? How are you receiving this? Right. So, it's really, really important. And the other part I want to express about it is it has this ripple effect. I don't know if you've ever heard of the butterfly effect, where if a butterfly flaps its wings in Japan,
across the world.
So it's that same notion. They've done studies where if you just hold the door open and smile at somebody, that expression of gratitude goes like 3-4 people deep that you don't even see. So when you express gratitude to a team member, that's going back home to their kid, and that's going to the neighbor kid, and that's going to another neighbor kid. Like, that's going places you don't, most of the results from that expression of gratitude, you won't even see directly with your own eyes, but it will come back to you in a tsunami.
That's so good. Yeah. And I think I saw a leader say that it's one of the few things that you have an endless supply of, right? And it costs you nothing, right? Like, we want to be sincere and authentic about it. And like I said, not just like the attaboy every day where it just it doesn't feel like you even mean it.
Yeah.
But when you do it with intention, it won't cost you anything. You got a lot of it. So I love it. I love it. Well, we're going to wrap up here. I don't think we have any other questions. I see I'm on the Facebook. So tell us quickly how, we'll get to Hero next, but how do we, if we want to use the app, it's still in the App Store, right? You continue to update it and modify all the different iOS versions. We can go to App Store and search Gratitude Journal or
just
Gratitude
go
app.
to thegratitudeapp.com, and that'll take you directly to the App Store.
Cool. And we can start doing it right away on the phone if you want, or however method you choose. And then Hero is now live in the world. If somebody wants to create their own audio course, or are you still in like beta or?
Yeah, no, beta quickly evolved into version 1, and that's hiro.fm.
Okay.
And so now what we're doing is seed funding to bring out the real version next summer.
Cool.
So super excited about that. Yeah.
Good for you.
That's super exciting.
So check out Carla. How can we connect with you if anyone wants to ask you any other questions or follow up?
Yeah, carlawhite.org.
Okay, perfect. So Lisa, Janet, Stacy, Steph, Nick, Jade, thanks so much for coming here to another edition of Leadmore. Carla, this is perfect on Kindness Day. And I feel like in a world that your point at the end there, that's a little divided, a little stressed, a little anxious, we could all use a little more gratitude. So I'm motivated to kind of get back into my practice. So thanks for the help today.
Yeah, do it. It's so good for everybody. And thank you, Stephanie, for the compliments.
Yeah, you bet.
She liked my earrings.
She said, love your earrings. Perfect.
Yeah.
All right. You guys take care. See you all. Everyone have a great weekend. And thanks again, Carla.
Thank you, Jad.
Bye. Take care.
Bye.